Hi, teachers. Leah here again, and I want you to think about the last time you saw a presentation and you were like, wow, I cannot handle what's going on in this presentation. There's so much color, so much font, so many different things happening. Or maybe you've actually watched the video on YouTube about the worst presentation ever, where this guy goes through a bunch of things that you shouldn't do in PowerPoint. It's quite funny. But thinking about how we design for students is really important. And so before we jump into how to make your own custom backgrounds for students, I wanted to take a moment and really think about what we are putting in those custom backgrounds for students. So I've curated together a Wakelet collection. And in this collection, you're going to find it in this module. There's some different articles here to get you to think about your designs that you are creating, maybe in a different way. So I want you to take a moment and glance through some of the resources. Pay careful attention to the first 5 things in the collection, and then the rest of the collection is going to focus on resources to help you with the design. So I'm going to take a real quick moment and walk through what's here, and then I want you to just take some time and reflect on what you've learned from these resources. So we're going to start off with thinking about design choices with a purpose, thinking about typographic tips for presenting to students, thinking about how our design choices impact students with low vision, dyslexia, anxiety, autism, and even color blindness. All of that is things that we should consider when we are designing any type of template, but in this case, we're talking specifically about Jamboard. And then we're going to think about the fonts we choose. So I love creative fonts, and I'm not putting this in here to say you can't use creative fonts, because there is definitely a place for that. But thinking about how we choose with a purpose so that it supports our content and it also is not too overwhelming for students. So once you've glanced at this first couple of resources, then the rest of the resources here are awesome tools that you can use at any point to help you make choices in your designs. So there is the site Coolers, which helps you choose pleasing color schemes. I love this site because I'm not always good at figuring out which colors go together, and this takes some of that headache out of it. And then it gives me the codes so that I can find those exact colors. Believe me, you're not going to have to spend time searching the color wheel for those exact colors. There's gradients, and thinking about Google Fonts. I've heard a couple of teachers tell me, well, I don't like Google Fonts because there's not a lot of options. I promise you there are millions more options than you realize are there if you use the Add Font button, but sometimes I like to go directly to Google Fonts to explore there so I don't have to spend my time searching through their list right within the Google Apps. Thinking about how fonts can be paired together, and then thinking about word art. And one feature that doesn't currently exist within Google Apps is the ability to design curved word art or word art that's a little bit more fancy, things that we might be used to seeing in Microsoft programs. And Pick Font allows you to do some of that. And then coming back to icons and images and other things that we might use in our background designs for students, but also keeping in mind copyright and publishing. So I've shared with you Flat Icon and Unsplash. Both of these provide free icons and images that you can use in your design. Are there millions more resources out there on the internet to also support design? Absolutely. But these are some things to help you get started. And in the other videos in this module, we're going to explore some of these and talk about how to use them and create our own amazing backgrounds that can better support and spice up what Jamboard has to offer.